Every year, tourists visit Petra, an ancient city in Jordan. Known as one of the caravan cities, Petra was home to significant trade and commerce from antiquity, as well as a region for agriculture, religion, and war. The remaining structures, whether from the Nabateans or the Romans, speaks to the ancient past the Middle East has. Camels pass through the doorways, markets nearby sell spices, and filmmaking crews take shots for Hollywood blockbusters, whether Indiana Jones or Dune. A Byzantine historian fusses over the Petra papyri and prepares a paper on farming methods in the 6th century AD. All ancient cities have some role in modernity, but Petra is a particularly special example due to its miraculous founding. In the 19th century, a Swiss man and Orientalists went undercover in an Arab tribe before uncovering the pink and red stone city. His exploits and that of others are firmly drenched in modern history, as are the tourists enjoyed by Petra today. For ancient historians do not just discuss antiquity. There's a trend where many incorporate modern history or contemporary issues into their research and public presence. This is mostly positive, but it has a few negative aspects. Overall, the field of history is a dynamic arena where modernity clashes with antiquity. In this video, I will talk about why ancient historians study modernity. There is a focus I would like to make, particularly on Near Eastern history, with countries like Jordan, Syria, and Turkey shaping much of our direction. I intend for this video to appeal to beginners and those more well-versed in historical studies. My perspective covers both modern and ancient history. There are 5 aspects to discuss: archaeology, heritage and tourism, appealing to audiences, reception studies, and historiography. I hope to illuminate the ways these topics intersect and shape one another. But for now, it's time to discuss why ancient historians study and write about modernity. I'm Madeleine Rose Jones, and I study history, literature, and culture. Welcome to Snowy Fictions. We begin with historiography, the various writings about history throughout time. Ancient historians are, of course, familiar with the famed Herodotus, who shaped much of our understanding about the diverse cultures around the Black Sea. But historiography about the ancient world didn't stop with him. Ever since, historians have written about and argued on ancient matters. From around the 19th century, we notice an explosion of interest in antiquity, particularly in Germany, Britain, the United States, Switzerland, and France. This was a time drenched in historical concerns and where monarchies, artists, and revolutionaries thought and imagined the pre-modern past. Naturally, this would have influenced the quality and form of the historiography. Ancient historians must also consider the historiography produced today and where the current affairs have shaped the work produced. Of course, this can produce a rabbit hole where historians dismiss large swaths of research out of the belief that bias has occurred. Obviously, I encourage a more nuanced approach. We move on to one more dedicated towards primary sources, and that is archaeology. This is the study of human remains from the past through the analysis of objects and data, as well as the excavation of sites. It's a particularly relevant topic to ancient historians of the Near East, with sites like Petra and in Cappadocia being subject to ongoing investigations, as well as in Greece and Italy. So often the case with archaeology, the story of places being discovered is just as enchanting of the past themselves. I opened with Petra and how a Swiss man founded the ancient city. But that's not the only example. The Dead Sea Scrolls were uncovered at a dynamic time in Middle Eastern and North African history, with the emergence of Israel and the fallout of decolonization. With the help of modern technology, historians can understand these sources through 3D modeling, analyzing soil and bone, taking note of burial methods, and making measurements. Modern history has an interesting role in this too. Prior to discovery, many of these artifacts suffered from earthquakes, raids, and thieves, as well as flooding. The ongoing preservation of these prior to entering a museum or a university collection is of keen interest to the ancient historian. Also, the display of these artifacts can be a source of controversy. We only have to look at the many debates facing the British Museum and similar ones in Germany and France to really understand the ways archaeology is perceived throughout the world. Should Britain, as a question, return the Rosetta Stone to Egypt? Well, I have my own opinion, but I hope to have illuminated the ways archaeology regarding antiquity intersects with modern history. Another way this occurs is through reception studies. This refers to the depiction and dialogue of antiquity with modern literature, art, and cinema. One good example is Donna Tartt's The Secret History, which takes place in an elite New England college as a friendship group wrestles with the classics and murder. Modern history and art is stacked with examples of our own ancient past inspiring us. Other examples include neoclassical architecture and sculpture, as well as novels such as I, Claudius and the Cicero trilogy by Robert Harris. On March 15th every year, many love to make references to the Ides of March and the assassination of Julius Caesar. In addition, modern history has had events explicitly shaped by antiquity, such as the Greek War for Independence against the Ottoman Empire in the early 19th century. Ancient historians take note of these events, as well as the depictions of their field of study. While it's not always positive, I understand, they are keenly interested in how the ancient past is portrayed, manipulated, and transformed through contemporary mediums of storytelling. If you want to know more about reception studies, I highly recommend checking out my videos on medievalism, comparative literature, and why we love ancient Rome. Also, it's not uncommon for ancient historians to consider how their field has been interpreted across modern history. This is particularly the case for historians who study Alexander the Great. His legacy and imprint onto the modern world has certainly caught the attention of ancient historians, who may find themselves studying historical novels from the 19th century as well as museum exhibitions from the last 200 years. This anchors well into our next topic, commenting on the present. This is always controversial, as is the nature of any historian commenting on political and social affairs. But it does happen. Leading ancient historians, especially Tom Holland and Mary Beard, are well known for using their research on antiquity to comment on the present. The debate between Mary Beard and former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is a good example, as both frame their respective sides in "What have they given us?" or "What do we look to the ancient Greeks and Romans?" To all three of these individuals, ancient history has an explicit link to modernity, and one cannot exist without the other. This is of course true for those seeking a big picture understanding of who they are and the civilizations they inherited. But it feeds into a weakness present in much of modern commentary from ancient historians, the risk of political bias. In 2013, Birmingham scholar of religion and theology, Keneda Moss, published The Myth of Persecution, which concerned the experiences of early Christians under Roman rule. Whilst I can accept part of her motivations were a genuine desire for scholarship and understanding, there is a tint of motivation to rebuke evangelical Christians and spiritually driven Americans who consider themselves or their fellow Christians persecuted in the modern era. My point isn't to criticize Moss for having her own opinions or anything related to her research, but there is something irresponsible about framing antiquity to please the political desires of the present. Moss is not the only one here. There's a smug tone to Bart Ehrman, as well as the journalist Catherine Nixie. I also acknowledge the pressure from publishers, governments, and media professionals for historians to make antiquity more relevant and engaging. There are numerous books about ancient Rome which launch into sermons about how we treat refugees fleeing the Syrian civil war. Everyone can have their own opinions, and nor do I expect ancient historians to only ever think about antiquity. But, to be honest, commentary on the present, or modernity, can feel shoehorned in and out of place. For now, we will focus on the final topic, heritage and tourism. Heritage is a crucial part of antiquity. Today, we have the opportunity to visit numerous sites that are thousands of years old, such as Ephesus in northwestern Turkey, Pompeii in central Italy, and Garni in Armenia. Greco-Roman history, as well as that of the Near East, has left remnants behind which are today enjoyed by tourists, academics, and writers alike. How contemporary visitors interact and interpret these aspects of heritage is an excellent example of ancient historians taking an interest in modernity. Unfortunately, the most tragic aspect of heritage is its destruction. The rise and eventual conquests of the Islamic State resulted in the intentional destruction of Syria's ancient heritage, including Palmyra and Dura Europus. While a more medieval example, ISIS have carried out terrorist attacks in Europe's most prized churches such as Strasbourg and Nice Cathedral. From across Eurasia, these fanatics have treated the pre-modern heritage of our civilizations as a playground for destruction, and beyond destroying these sites, they have also slaughtered those responsible for looking after them, from priests to historians. Ancient historians have written quite a bit about the Islamic State, with monographs about their destruction being written in English, French, and Italian, to name a few. Modern warfare has truly shaped our understanding of ancient history, as it isn't just about heritage sites and collections, but also the horror in having a fellow historian and peer being killed. Modernity isn't just an opportunity to discover more about their fields or to uncover ancient artifacts. It can also be a prison, one restricting the scholar and forcing them into the darkness. Ancient historians aren't doing anything wrong by incorporating modernity into their studies. It is impossible for them not to. Studying antiquity does mean taking a keen eye to heritage, language, historiography, and ongoing research, but of course, an ancient historian's main focus will obviously be on the ancient world. I hope in this video to have illuminated an aspect of ancient history previously unknown to you. It's certainly a dynamic field and one I dearly love, but back to you. What are your favourite aspects or eras of ancient history? Have you read any good books recently on antiquity? Comment below. I'd love to read your thoughts and start a discussion. Both ancient and modern history is truly fascinating. If you'd like, subscribe to Snowy Fictions, as I make frequent videos on history, literature, and culture. I also have a blog, brimming with essays and articles, as well as creative writing classes and a monthly newsletter. All are linked below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.